You all know that I'm not a Gnostic, but I do believe that Gnosticism has a place in dissecting the current dilemma that we're in right now in regards to the boomers. Now, we just had an election in Canada, and of course, the Liberals won once again, fourth time in a row. No surprises here. But when polled, the boomers were asked what the most important issues to them were. And of course, they said that stopping the Orange Man was number one on the docket. And at the bottom of the list was making Canada a better place and making housing affordable again. Now, of course, this is typical boomer, archonic, telluric behavior. And I think that this society that we live in is sort of a boomer prison planet. The boomers are the archons. They have all the keys. They've locked all the doors, and they no longer care to leave the world in a better state. It's like you play an arcade game. I'm dating myself here. But at these arcades, I'm sure maybe you've been to a hipster one. The scores are kept on the machines who has a higher score. I think the boomers want the highest score. They want to exit out of this dimension and log off with the highest score accumulated so they can prance around in the afterlife saying, "We won." What is really the prevailing ethos of the boomers? What can it be boiled down to? And there's a quote, a phrase, a saying that goes around: he who has the most toys wins. And that right there, that encapsulates the boomers 1000%. They want to log out of the prison planet with the most toys because they don't have some great story like, they didn't fight some massive war, they didn't survive some depression, they didn't survive some epic struggle, they didn't have some epic victory that they get to brag about. They just had an economic golden age that they benefited from. Really, to be the successful boomer, all you had to do at this point was really just not be a complete, total wasteoid. And you would have been pretty well off in Canada. By the way, this statement I say, I feel like it falls on deaf ears a lot, but I want to kind of inseminate this into the ether that in the 90s, Canada was on par with Switzerland and Norway. We were on par in terms of living standards with Switzerland and Norway. And I try to hammer this into people's minds. And it does not compute. Maybe because people have a notion that the United States is like this, amazing place and there's nowhere on earth better because they've never left this hemisphere. But no, like it was true. And now it is absolutely, I don't know, we're not top 10 anymore. And I think we're rapidly falling to below the top 20. And this is under the boomers' watch, really. And when I say boomers, like, let's be real with who we're talking about here. It's not every person on Earth. We're talking about a very specific demographic. And it's boomers from north of Europe. North of the butter line, north of the beer line, specifically. We'll get into the med question here in a second. We're talking Protestant background, Germanic, Celtic, even I think Slavic boomers too fall under this category. You know, get out, bootstrap up. We're not going to help you. Some people in this category are lucky a little bit. I mean, there is a little bit of nepotism that you can benefit from, but it's not going to be as drastic as other demographics. Okay? So, for me, all four of my grandparents are Presbyterian Scot. Okay, they all went to the Presbyterian Scottish Church. They all went to some variation of something like St. Andrew's. And so I am part of this background here. And I see it. All my peers, all the people I grew up with. Just the other day, a friend of mine, his parents are, it's a story of his time. We all know it. They're selling the house and they're going out east. Goodbye. Nice knowing you. It was fun. You're not our problem anymore. You're not our problem anymore. Goodbye. And we're taking the bag. And I hope you have fun trying to make do without us. It's either a variation of, depending on their economic status, it's either a variation of they're going out east or they're going out west. The dollar stretches out east. And so they leave their kids under-equipped to face the harsh realities of this fake country called Canada, which isn't real. It's a crown dominion. And I know there's a lot of LARP out there liking to pretend that there is a actual country called Canada. No, it is the Dominion of Canada. It's a crown colony still, which is a big factor at play as well. And so this is why I don't want to be an advice channel for the younger generation. Because I'm from a different dimension as the Zoomers, and the Boomers are from a different dimension than I am. So why would I try to, save up 100K? Yeah, just work for a couple of years and save up 100. What? Who's doing that? I've never heard of that in my life. Unless you live rent-free. But these Protestant background boomers of the North, they want you out pretty quick. Some of them can be, sparingly nice, but typically, you got to get out. And the advice that they all gave me, my members of my clan that were boomers, what does it amount to? What do they tell me to do? Well, I got a lot of, if I get in trouble with somebody, if I'm having a problem with somebody, I should take them out back and thump them. Just take them out back and thump them. That's what a lot of these boomers told me growing up. Because, of course, the boomers actually could do that. The boomers could thump people. They were allowed to thump people. Thumping was part of their culture. You could go to bars, you could get into fights, you could get into scuffles, you could, even on the job sites, people were thumping people left and right. If I thump somebody now, as much as I would love to thump somebody, I'm going to jail. Okay? The guy who's 6'3", 240 is thumping somebody. I mean, I'm going to jail. I can't just thump Timmy because I'm having a disagreement with him. Okay, that boomer. And then the boomers, they get all, gruff and tough. Oh, well, somebody talked like that to me, I would have just thumped them. Right? De Niro talks like this when he's talking about Trump. Biden talks like this when he's talking about Trump. Yeah, Jack, I'll take you out back and thump you. as much as I would love to see a Biden Trump cage match, it's not going to happen. And they know they can't do that anymore, but they still kind of have this attitude where you just thump people. And, Robert De Niro is going to go taxi driver on somebody, and we're just going to have to, grit our teeth and listen to these folk. And yeah, I think, we say boomers, but like, who are we really talking about? Okay. I remember when I was in the Nordic countries, it was the same thing. The Nords referred to them as the gray gold. Could you imagine being a Nordic boomer? How comfy your life would have been. Okay? Like, how? Again, there's still people out there who want to defend boomers, who want to rehabilitate boomers, who want to say, well, blah, 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 the programming, the subversion. At what point do we say, okay, like, you have to be accountable? I don't care how many Hollywood movies subverted your brain. At some point, we gotta look at each other and be like, okay, like, we're past the point where they don't want the country to be a better place. They don't want people to have houses. Okay, at what point when is the subversion no longer part of the equation? The boomers of the North, they're a problem, right? Look at the Scandinavian countries as well. The kids are out early, early. The kids are out. Get out. You have to leave now. Please leave. We did our duty. Did you expect to be fed? Right? They won't even feed. They won't even feed you if you're visiting their house. Have you seen that chart? And this is kind of what sparked this whole thing. Is I was on X and Varg was going on about meds. Meds are they're Arabs or something. Why do you think that Mediterraneans have brown eyes and black hair? It is because they are mixed. Something like that. And I'm about to become a med poster, okay? I'm about to become an Atlantean. I've talked some bants about meds before, but that's just who I am, okay? If you guys don't know me, I grew up with a lot of people from different backgrounds, and part of the way we bonded was we would mock each other's heritage, okay? So if there was an Irishman, of course, we'd call him a drunk. If there was, a Pole, we would say, good luck with your space program. I hope you land on the sun properly. Stuff like that, okay? It's just bands. I said something about an Anglo, and somebody in my comments got mad. I said the internal Anglo or something. It's just bands, guys, okay? Let's just calm down. It's gonna be okay. I love the English. Okay, I like to Celt post sometimes, but I mean, you guys don't like me because I have brown eyes. So all my Nordicist subscribers, you might as well just unsubscribe at this point because my eyes are brown. I'm a med. I'm a Kelto med. We were actually classified as Mediterranean in some of these ethnic, maps at some point. So, maybe there's something to it. Maybe that's why I'm lazy. But so the med question. What is wrong? I'm starting to think about joining Team Med, okay? Think about it. Think about it. Their parents actually care about them. Okay? You're not getting kicked out till you're like 35. And they're going to set you up with the family business. You're going to be making pizzas with them. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. Nepotism up every corner. I mean, it's great. I respect that. I respect people who look after their own. Meanwhile, these Nords, you have to leave. Okay, like I'm done. I'm done with it. I want to move to Croatia and be like a Slavo med. That's like the best of both worlds. You got beautiful Slavic women and you have sunshine and like what is wrong with sitting by the Mediterranean Ocean smoking a cigarette? By the way, their cigarettes actually taste good. Unlike these American and Canadian, ugh, poison. Drinking an espresso and just staring out into the blue. Okay? Nein! Eins, zwei, eins, zwei, los geht's, arbeiten! Right? You just have to work. You just have to be a work. Okay, and to be fair, the Germans do have a better work culture than even we do over here. We still have this Protestant mind control that even the Germans have ascended. And maybe it's because of their heavily Catholic um, aspect that's also within Germany too, right? So there's socialist attitudes that are absolutely reprehensible. I think what we need to do is start practicing vamachara against the boomer telluric world that they've created. If you don't know what vamachara is, basically it's left-hand path tantra. So these vamacharians, they practice moral transgressions in order to dissolve their own ego so they can escape the samsara mind matrix and ascend to the next level. They do things like sitting on corpses, they will eat human flesh, they'll do rituals involving, menstrual blood or other bodily fluids. Anything they can do that is seen as like a desecration against the dharma, essentially. And what I want to do, and I've actually been starting to do, is I'm going to desecrate the boomer dharma. And I've actually kind of always done this, but now I'm going to consciously do this. Okay, no more cutting the lawn. The sacred lawn of the boomers shall be transgressed against. Okay, I do not want to have a cut lawn. I am going to actively go as long as I can without cutting the lawn, just to make boomers upset, because I know this is going to make them extremely upset. Other things, I'm going to not pretend like I'm not going to pretend like I'm there to help them. Not opening the doors for them, not help. Okay, I'm more inclined at this point to help an elderly Japanese gentleman across the street than some old, you know, Hyperborean boomer, because I know what they think. They don't care. They already said it. They don't care. They don't want to make it a better place. Okay. They need to know. They need to be made to feel that they're not in the same place that they were in anymore. Okay? They need to know that their stay has been over overblown. I mean, how? I don't want to leave the country. It's so true. We know it's true, but it's actually so absurd. It's hard for me to accept. Even knowing it's true, seeing the poll, hearing about it from all these other people, everybody has a boomer take, and they're always pretty good, and they're always, it's like a universal experience. The boomer is not a singular entity. The boomer is an egregore. They are the Borg, the boomer Borg. And at this point, the boomers are archons. They're an egregore. They're a tulpa of the Demiurge. Okay, they have created this Demiurge. They are the Demiurge, and each individual boomer is like an archon. And we are the psychics and the pneumatics who are trying to ascend out of this boomer prison planet. No more cutting the lawn, no more opening doors. Through the clan, somebody wanted me to look after a friend of a friend's dog, and then I found out this person was a boomer. Okay. And they wanted me to do this for free, right? I was like, no, you know what? $600. Yeah. $600 to start. You want me to look after your little boomer dog? It's gonna be $600 to even talk about it. All right. I had a buddy. It's just absurd. Again, I know this is happening. I had a buddy, and he was going to do some graphic design and website building for these boomers, and he did a bunch of work, and they didn't want to pay him. So here's some okay. You want advice? Here's some advice for you Zoomers. If a boomer asks you to do anything, you need to see the money up front, because they love shekels. They love shekels, and they're going to try to hoard and corner cut. And oh man, don't ever work for a boomer for hourly, because they're going to tarnish your hours. Okay? They're Phoenicians. Remember all those quotes I was reading about the Phoenicians that one day? There's going to be historians, right? And we're going to be able to make a compilation video of all the quotes against the baby boomers that are going to be said over the years. Just the absolute. Yeah. And I mean, but you have to give it to them, like, the boomer will to power is unmatched. Okay, the boomer wants to go out east. They just go out east. They don't think about any of the logistics or any of the problems. The boomer will to power is absolutely unmatched. You cannot defeat the boomer at his own game. And that's why you have to practice boomer vamachara. Okay? I'm a boomer vamachari. So, morally transgress against the boomers. When boomers ask me what I do for a living, I just say I'm a digital artist, and I don't give them any details. And I see the seed, and I see the clocks, and I see the ticking, and the disapproval wash over them when I say I'm a digital artist, and I'm not elaborating on that. It's just they are. Here's my advice for Zoomers. Okay, you want some advice? You want an advice channel? Yeah, save up 100K. Go work at McDonald's. No, don't do that. Okay, get really good at Fortnite. Be a streamer. Oh, here's a really good gig. This is a skill that you should learn. Get really good at Red Dead Redemption roleplay, like RPing. Get really good at RPing. That's a great skill. That's going to take you far. You're going to learn rhetorical skills. You're going to learn how to act. You're going to learn how to talk. You're going to learn how to interact with people. You're going to learn some Machiavellian will to power skills. Okay? Start grinding out. You want some advice, Zoomers? Okay? Don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start grinding. Do your cold plunge. Even though I don't get up at 5. No, hell no. But I do like cold water stuff. It's very Hyperborean to get the cold on you. But, they're really good at Red Dead Redemption. I got a buddy. He trades. This also makes boomers really upset because he posts about it on Facebook. He trades dragon eggs on Ark. That's a good trade, you know. That's I think people say hey, man, you might like to build stuff, you might like to be a carpenter. No, I think a good vamacharian boomer transgression is trading eggs on Ark. I would love to get in on that, but I just can't play Ark. It's too much for me. It's too much for me. But yeah, these boomers, giving out advice, telling me, yeah, just take them out back and thump them. You know, I mean, to be fair, they did kind of. One thing about boomers is they had like, okay, well, there's also a decline. There's like a Kali Yuga within the boomer sphere as well, because I also kind of want to talk about this separately too. But since we're just on the topic of boomers, I kind of wanted like to at least get it documented somewhere about like how I grew up. Boomers had like a massive social circle. It was just absolutely like it was just a revolving door of people constantly growing up in the 90s. It was just people visiting, people show up, hanging out. I get to, you know, learn how to socialize. Boomers were good for that. But then the flip side of that was that every weekend it was just a freaking insane party, an insane boomer party. All the boomers love getting drunk. So another thing with the boomers is they don't tell you is that oh yeah, we worked so hard, we were hard workers. Okay, this is like the ultimate lie. Boomers were hitchhiking, growing dope while on Pogie, um, bucking the system left and right. Most of them didn't have real jobs until their 30s. They didn't care. They didn't need to because they could get by on scraps. And they were low inhib. I remember a story about my dad. He had a guy. He was helping this guy fix his bike, his motorcycle, and he fixed it. And the guy didn't pay him. So my dad blew up his truck and then hitchhiked to California. And if you have boomer parents, you know this is real because this is just what they did back then. There was it was just chaos. They were out of control. They could just do things like that and just, yeah, I'm just going to blow up your truck. I'm just going to hitchhike somewhere. There's just no second thought, the boomer will to power, unprecedented, low end head boomers just absolutely not giving a single F about their actions. And so, but you have to remember, they live in a world where there were less consequences, where you could kind of sneak a drink while driving. You could work under the table, not it be such a big deal. You could hitchhike. You could grow dope, and it's not the end of the world. But now, he's living this ultimate just eins, zwei, Polizei bureaucracy where everything is just clamped down on you and you're just being choked to death. You can't really get away with it. You can't thump people. You can't blow up trucks. You can't hitchhike to California. Nor would you want to anymore. It would have been nice, man, California back then. Oh. That beautiful song written about California. Like, you can tell, like, the way that song is written, that there was a spirit there. There was a beauty there. There was something in California that was worth writing about in that way. And that is gone. And so is Canada. By the way, California and Canada, Two really nice places, probably, back in the day, completely just gone, you know. And that's just the way it is, and there's no going back, by the way. This is the age of dissolution. You're not going to rally up the flannel jacket hockey stick flailing buddies and take it back. Most of them are too doped up anyway to give a single F. But we need to practice boomercharya. I don't know. Do you guys have any boomercharya tips for me? What can I do in my day-to-day life that can upset boomers to the maximum amount? Talking about anime and video games is a really good one. Anime, video games, it activates a disgust sensation within boomers. Boomers and millennial women too. Millennial women and boomers kind of have like a spiritual kinship in terms of their taste. They hate they hate gaming. That's just why I'm making this a gaming video, by the way. I hope you enjoy my shiv slop. They hate gaming. They hate anime. What else do they hate? Boomer and millennial women. Because millennial women are kind of like wannabe boomers. They want to have the big house and they want the vacays and they want to have this sense like they still live in the game of life where you just, you follow the formula and you get out the output. You put in the input, you get the output. You don't have to think too hard about it. They still kind of are clinging on to that, and for them it is a bit easier to achieve that. That's why Zoomer women, they don't really care. I mean, they're kind of like they're just they grew up with nihilistic Gen X parents, so they never really had that expectation anyway. Oh, before I get dogpiled by Gen X, okay? Look, there's some Gen X listeners I have here. Dead Wolf Resistance. I'm pretty sure he's Gen X. Yo, go check out that channel, okay? He had a saber on a four-wheeler and he was chopping milk jugs in half and it was epic, okay? So that is a true Hyperborean right there. Go check out his channel. Yeah, not all Gen X, but there are Gen X legionnaires of the boomer archonic world order. Yeah, don't so yeah, for Zoomers, my advice for you is don't take advice from people older than you. Don't do it. You guys know your ecosystem a lot better than we do. Okay, these washed up millennials telling you to work at McDonald's, save up 100K. Fuck off. Don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. Don't be a vagabond. Play Red Dead Redemption. You're emulate your peers, the peers that you want to be like. Okay? Like don't for the love of God, don't listen to millennials for advice. Okay? If there was one thing I wish somebody told me when I was growing up is don't listen to the older generation's advice when it comes to your ecosystem, how to succeed in your era. Because you're listening to old people tell you, I'm old. I'm 33. I'm ancient. I'm way past my expiry date. I don't even know how I'm still here, but I am. And at least I get to see the boomers go. At least I get to see the boomers go in my life. And then, okay, like, do we become the boomers? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't. Millennials are dropping like flies, okay? You already know millennials have 3 times the cancer rate as boomers did in their 30s. Okay? We're cooked, as the youth say. And I've seen a lot of people already die, essentially, right? Deaths of despair, deaths of, you know, they don't want to live in the boomer demiurge world anymore. And I understand that. And yeah, so I don't think we're gonna have the longevity. One thing about boomers is I don't know, like they're built different, you know. They took their Flintstone vitamins and they're just units. Their will to power is unmatched. It's a boomer world, and you're living in it. Yeah, let me know some boomer transgressions I can start to incorporate into my daily routine. I think that is the way out of the boomer matrix. It's to achieve samsara through left-hand path transgression. And we're going to look more into that too, because I really do think that whole vamachara thing is really kind of the starting aspect of the black magician's path. They kind of laid the groundwork, and if you look at their philosophy, it is really what the goblins and all the warlocks truly practice, but it's actually explained and fleshed out in a very honest way, which I do appreciate from the Vamacharians. All right. Well, as you can see, I needed to rant about boomers for a bit, so if you've made it through, I mean, congrats. Okay, let's get through it together.